coming down to
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Look at the toss! They haven't got it!
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start trouble. He's not just second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you may be in the world, and welcome to the wonderful world of America. We're here with the Radical World Series Americas for round number 4 at Watkins Glen. Of course, Watkins Glen boot with the boot section included. An incredible track, this one. It has elevation changes. It's a very quick track. It has the chicane of death, as we like to call it, with the SR8s in it. We saw it last season when it was still pros and ams here at the Radical Americas. But this season, we're back again, and we still have the chicane in it. Just like last season, it's going to be a spot where most people will be watching for the drivers to go off. Hopefully, with the drivers we have this evening, we don't have a lot going off. With me in the commentary booth, as always, is the wonderful man from down under, Dean Biggles, the legendary man from Australia. As always, you'll be joining me to bring you up with all the action. This track, 5.41 kilometers long, a track temperature of 26 degrees at the moment, of course, located in USA, in Watkins Glen. Well, Biggles, we're almost 4 rounds deep into the championship now. Everyone is kind of settled down, and they kind of know where they stack up.
And they're going to be stacking up, of course, in New York. So you need New York, unique New York. You need New York. That's one of those tongue-twisting exercises that you do to practice as well as the drivers to do those laps around this upstate New York track. Of course, that's a classic. And one of the old ones in the Formula 1 calendar they used to do back in the day, which unfortunately they don't do it anymore because you're not going to sell out multiple grandstands in upstate New York. Doesn't look as picturesque as they're trying to do for the other ones. But off the Formula 1 and on to the Radicals and on to the championship standings for you to go over for us there, please, Dan.
Well, we have Lucas Vieira, who's leading the way on 148 points. He stayed at the top after last round. Artur Skondalis had a really, really good round at Barber, so he went up a place to in terms of Stephen Place, who was just about to talk about. He didn't quite have his way at Barber Motorsport Park. Stephen Place went down 1 position and lost that position to Artur Skondalis. Stephen Place in 3rd in the championship, 140 points. All very close still at the top though, 8 points between the two at the top. Diego Zuccarelli in P4, 5th for Manuel Sorosano, Eric Harman in P6, Joel Jacklin P7, Scott Galligan in P8, Jason Duckworth in P9. He's doing really well. Also went up 2 positions together with Richard Horn, who also went up 2. He's in 10th in the championship so far on 70 points for Team Horn. Diego Schneider in P11 also doing really well. However, dropping down 2 positions on where he was before last time round at Barber Motorsport Park. Charles Krosic in P12 ahead of Joan Moncada in P13. P14 for Nathan Brumby. He did quite well, I have to say, in his first opening rounds. Kansas Gentry in P15. Rich Price in P16. And Johnny Hamby in P17. That is the drivers' standings for you. The drivers will now be going into qualifying. But before we go down to the track, I just want to have a quick little look at the championship standings in the teams. So here we go. Here's the team championships for you. Bardovito Motorsports are leading the way comfortably, Biggles, on 290 points ahead of Team Redline Can-Am. And, they have 182 points. There is 108 points behind them after 3 rounds of racing. Event Matrix in P3 ahead of Elite West Racing. And then we have Race Pace in P5. In the team championship, Biggles, it isn't looking as close as it has been in previous seasons, but nonetheless, still in this, well, the Drivers' Championship, really, really competitive. 8 points covering the top 3.
It is. It's going to be a little bit more spread out today with about 9 or so drivers, I believe, we have on the grid. So we're missing some of the top guns here, which will be a great opportunity for the likes of Steve Place to gain some of the more points. And just as CJ mentioned out there, Zuccarelli is starting to drop out of the championship battle. But today may be an opportunity for him to get a hell of some more points with, as I said, some of the other top guns not here today, this evening. So that will be the interesting thing. And the European one that I did earlier today there, Dan, was very interesting. An hour and a half race. This one's an hour. Mandatory 2 pit stops. We have a mandatory 1 pit stop. With about that 10 minutes to go at the end of the race. And just to give some information about that, because we were a little bit confused with the rule book situation. But there was about 3 drivers that did not make their mandatory 2nd pit stop in the European division, and they've been disqualified apparently. So
yeah, I was going to say,
that work down the drain.
Yeah, I was going to say, we were not the only ones confused with the rulebook. The drivers were too. But it does state very clearly you do have to make that pit stop before the last 10 minutes of the race. So, if anything, they just maybe didn't, like, read the rulebook or just didn't keep an eye on the time, because that's really easy to do. If I get into a flow, Biggles, and it's very easy to then just lose a sense of time. You get into a super nice rhythm, and you just lose that sense of how quick the time is going and how quick you're turning the laps. Also, a big welcome to CJ again. Of course, our roaming pit reporter is back in chat. Our walking, well, Wikipedia basically. You can ask him anything about racing, and CJ will know. So, any questions about the 1987 Formula 1 season, go ahead and ask them to CJ. He will know every lap that the drivers turned, and he will know every result.
I was going to ask CJ, real quick, David, about that one. Who was the last Formula 1 driver to win a race at Watkins Glen? There you
go. Do you know, Biggles?
Absolutely not. I don't know.
Okay, well, neither do I. So he can now just say a driver, and we can't fact check that.
Oh, well, I get to know the era, at least, of the drivers, so it certainly wasn't somebody like Mansell or Prost, although they were racing that track a little bit before that, I think. Yeah. See. So, usual suspects are out here. We've got some of from the Americans, because we've got Colombian drivers. We have Argentinian driver there of Diego. We have Scotty there from Australia. Juan, and of course, Mathis there from Brazil.
Let's take a lap on board with Juan Moncada, who's now in 3rd, down in the turn 1, break in where the grass ends on the left-hand side. Watch out here on exit. Very easy to pick up that off-track. If you go 4 wheels over the curb, you do pick up that off-track. Flat then through the S's. Easy flat in these downforce cars. And now we wait until we get to the chicane of death. Don't cut too much of that chicane at the moment. We are in P4, about 5/10 down on Stephen Place in P1. Cut as much as you can on the inside curb. So you do on the exit 2. Up through the gears, 4th gear through the right-hander. This is a long-lasting right-hander. The left front tire will be screaming through there. Braking very late, downhill, off camber. Really tricky corner, really easy to get this one wrong and to get onto the power a little bit too early. Up through the gears again, into 4th, into 5th. Down to 3rd gear, maybe even 2nd. Some drivers like to take 2nd for the rotation in this corner. Drive it all the way out to the exit of the right-hander, and then once again we have a little time to rest before we head to the braking zone of turn number 8. Down to the 3rd gear, you can go out wider if you want to, but it's quicker if you keep it tight. The left-hander of 9 is a really tricky one. Keep it in 3rd gear to minimize the wheel spin on exit, and then this last section on the track is an interesting one. Almost flat, that left-hander. This right-hander by no means flat, but you have to watch out because the walls get very close on the left-hand side. And that is a lap around this beautiful Watkins Glen circuit, and that is a lap time of a 1:39.107. What you've just seen on board is a provisional pole position lap time.
Yeah, with the commentator's boost there from Dan riding on board, so good job for that one. The answer out there, well, I should actually have known this one, shouldn't I? The 1980 US Grand Prix Watkins Glen was won by the one himself, Mr. Alan Jones, the second Australian driver that's won a Formula One World Championship, the last Australian driver to actually win a Formula One World Championship as well. And the Williams Ford over Carlos and Bruno winning the pole for that race. Thank you very much for that. Don't copy and paste that one, but I'm pretty sure CJ probably. You gotta tell us whether you did actually know that CJ or not, or yeah, did wiki that one.
I mean, knowing CJ, he just knows that. Knowing CJ, it doesn't matter how young or how many years he's been watching Formula 1 for now. He will know every lap of that race. Knowing CJ, that's the case. CJ is such a racing enthusiast, as we all are, basically. I'm up here at 3:27 a.m. to do commentary on some radicals going around Watkins Glen.
Well, after you've been to a couple of racetracks live, haven't
yes.
you, in the Netherlands the last couple of days, and just a little bit of twirly moment, I think, there from Stevie. He's got once again, this is Stevie's opportunity here to get a nice race win there and really secure himself some great points in this championship. See a couple of little mini circles there from Diego Sacalurdi as well too. That he has to see some of the opportunity here and stop flip that car upside down in the timing in the points system as well too, as Mr. Manuel goes up to the top of the timesheets there and just replaces that by 79 thousandths of a second.
Now I do want to get something straight
today,
here. The track I was at today was Genk, but you've just insulted me in the most incredible way possible, because you said Genk was a Dutch track. Now the track itself, beautiful track. The country it's in, less so. Belgium, love the country, but their roads are absolutely horrible. No, we're in the Netherlands.
It couldn't be any worse than what they have here in Panama or Latin America.
Well, what you just did is the same as me calling you a Kiwi. But the people who don't know what that means, I'm calling him, or I'm saying he's from New Zealand instead of from Australia. So that's a bit of an insult, right, for someone from Australia, isn't it?
I'd like to retire in New Zealand. It's actually a beautiful place, but yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful country.
I didn't realize how far. How long was that travel actually for you to Belgium from?
14 minutes. It is just before Zolder, from where I live. Zolder is about 25 minutes driving for me, and the karting circuit of Genk was about 14-15 minutes for me. But yeah, an absolutely beautiful track. It was for the Road Tax Europe Series. So yeah, an incredible weekend. In the end,
is it heavily elevated like Spa? Because I mean, it's very mountainous, isn't it?
It is very flat. It is very flat. No,
flat.
That karting circuit is super flat. We went to a karting circuit in May, also in Belgium. That karting track, honestly, it is an abandoned track, but they have to bring back the European races there, because that track, wow, it is small. It is very technical, but it has undulation. It has everything. Talking about something technical, Matthias Moraes can snatch pole position away here from Sorozano. Everyone is done. Everyone has got their 4 laps in. Across the line for Moraes. What can he do? He goes to the top on a 1:18.666. What a drive from the Brazilian. Pops himself up into provisional pole position. I don't think Diego Schneider is going to be doing anything about that. He's 2.7 seconds behind Matthias at the moment. Diego Schneider will need to find a huge amount of time in order to take away that pole position from Moraes. Or Moraes. Not Brazilian in any way.
Sun shining on. Oh, he's got the sun on his car, of course. That's in the Argentinian flag.
Yes.
See whether or not he can improve. The sun's obviously coming down sharp into the eyes of some of these drivers. Goes to the P7 there for Diego. So
improves
that's
a lot.
Scotty, unfortunately, did not set a time. My Australian driver at the moment.
There we go.
Let's see about that one. Nickname, of course, Kiwi is exactly the national bird, a flightless bird too, in New Zealand. But here we go. Qualifying result over. As results.
Matthias Moraes will be starting on the pole position. If I'm correct, Matthias is new to this series. He hasn't raced yet. So yeah, he's in his first race taking pole position out of Manuel Sorosano in P2, Joan Moncada in P3, Stephen Place in P4, Diego Zuccarelli P5, Joel Jacklin in P6, Diego Schneider P7, P8-4, Charles Crossage, and last on the grid, rounding it off the top 9, Scott Callaghan, not setting a lap here today. Don't know what happened to Scott, but he was not able to set a lap time. Everyone did, except Scotty himself. So we're going to see if he's going to be able to get out on track. From my knowledge, he is out on track already at the moment. So, don't know. Maybe making it interesting for himself. There he is in the purple livery. Or the pink livery, excuse me. That beautiful pink livery from Scott Callaghan. So, yeah. He's noticeable, isn't he, on the grid?
Oh, absolutely. There's some absolutely fantastic liveries. I was just chatting out there with CJ to see if he was in the Discord. Because maybe we'll get a second to talk about maybe, because I was actually interested to see if we could get CJ in for a quick chat at some point during a race when there's not a lot of action happening. And, you know, give us a bit of a yarn. And CJ, if you are listening, if you want to do that, welcome to.
This race a little bit shorter than our usual race here. 60 minutes instead of the full hour and 30 minutes. The lights are on the gantry, firefight lights are on. It's lights out, and away we go for round number 4 of the Radical World Series Americas. It's Moraes with a good first start for pole position on the inside for turn number 1. Sorosano having a look around the outside, can't quite make it though. He washes out to the outside corner. Moncada keeps his P3. Stephen Place keeps his P4. And we're all single file back to Joel Jacklin, who slots in P8. Everyone through turn 1 cleanly, Biggles. And so far, so good.
It was similar to the European one earlier. So far, so good. Everybody deciding, hey, it's a long race. Let's take it easy at the moment. Still sees an opportunity if there is one for sure.
Oh,
just like
he's
that.
off.
Power slide. Manuel's kept it, but he's kept it. Come back on track there, allowing space for everybody to go through. It looks like Schneider there, as well as Zuccarelli, and there's Stephen Place off.
Pole sitter is off. The pole sitter, Matthews, is off. Turn number 4. Or turn number 5, excuse me.
Just like that, first and last.
Oh, man.
Get a replay of that. But it wasn't quite first. It was side by side on that one, but yes. What has happened? That bit of carnage, just like you were just about to say, Dan, how everything was all good, followed through nicely and kindly, and then just like that, it went all
yeah, for the pole sitter, he's down in P9 out, but he knows he has some pace. And, well, the good thing from doing it this early is that you have about 58 minutes and 30 seconds to make up for the mistake that you just made. Diego Zuccarelli chasing down the 2 Team Redline boys. Ahead of him, Stephen Place and John Moncada. It's a 1-2 for Team Redline at the moment. So they're doing incredible. It's Stephen Place in second, John Moncada in P1. 2 Canadians on the podium too, Zuccarelli and Stephen Place. Zuccarelli doing really well. I think that was a bit of a wall brush there for our Australian Scott Callaghan in the background. A 148.560 for Joan Moncada. First time round. There's a little bit of a crash in the background.
It's Manuel.
Oh no, what happened between those two?
So that's actually what Diego.
And look at that.
Something happened there.
That has allowed Matthews right through again. Let's take a look at what happened.
Yeah. We get a couple of replays to come back on that one too, because there's action on the first lap.
He just spins it. Oh yeah, cold tires. Cold tires is what did it. Did well, honestly, to save that, but then he spun back into the path of everyone. And he kept...
No, he stays there. This is actually waiting for everybody to go past, luckily. I saw that today, obviously, in the European division when somebody had to do that, and they were on the racing line in the middle, and they cleverly stayed there. You have to stay there, as we're seeing an overtake previously on this one. This is this is when Manuel actually... This collision... Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, Diego Schneider, I think that was, just driving into the back of him. Just accelerating quicker than Sorosano did. Did not expect that, really. You can have a look at it again from a chopper view. Here we go.
Hey, this just looks classic 101. Yeah, too much speed out of the corner. Bang.
Not too much speed. He had the perfect amount of speed, but Sorosano didn't because he had the inside. He had a tighter line. He had to tighten up that corner, so his exit speed was way down compared to Diego Schneider. And that, in the end, just caught him out, I think, Biggles. And, well, nothing really that Manuel Solorzano could do about that.
And made that, and this man did all of a sudden, like from 0 to 0, is back into P7. Just like that, as you said. The good thing about it, once again, plenty of time to go, 56 minutes. Mandatory pit stop, we were just saying there before there, CJ. Only one, not two, because it's not an hour and a half a race. He's got the fastest lap too, so get your head down, get it done with. And Scotty's done the Scotty special, hasn't he, for the 666 machine? He started top last, and now he's up at a P4, avoiding all those collisions and drama. And just staying there comfortably, 5 positions gained. Behind Diego right here, who is just behind Stephen Place for the Canadian duel, and then one is leading Swan for the Team Redline.
I'm going to be interested to see, or it is going to be interesting to see how many drivers are going to get caught out by that chicane. We saw it on lap number 1, where I think Joel Jacqueline went off. Or it was Manuel Solorzano. I think it was Manuel Solorzano who went off to that chicane. He was in P2 at the time. Went for an overtake into P1, just broke a little bit too late going into the corner. With that, unsettled the car a bit, and that made for a very tricky chicane for him. Kept it pointing straight though, coming out of it, but he had a less than ideal line, let's put it like that.
Yeah, maybe get a replay of that one a little bit there. Then, to find out what happened with that, though, exactly, it was a Constantina effect, wasn't it? Because that driver goes off with cold tires and then goes into the grass there, comes back on the track there, comes through everybody else off of those. Same time. That's what you want to try to get that on the replay. This is it here. So that was.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that is exactly. Look at the Constantina effect here. So they bunch up, and then we have a little moment, don't we? A little bit further back, further from this soon.
I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. Look, he gets a run on I think Matthews.
Yeah, the first lap of the race.
Now he turns in. Look at that. Oh, he hits that curb the wrong way. And he's just done. So many drivers got caught out a season ago at this track.
And see that, that's what caused it. And then see the race leader, the Brazilian, had to, because he had so much speed carrying through the corner, coming out of that one, because he had to take evasive action. And I think because he took evasive action, he could get back on the racing line to a perfect situation. And then the cold tires, of course, too much speed carrying in there, had a bit of a flipperoo. That's just like that. That order switched around.
Here we go, back to live pictures now. Diego Ciccarelli still on the back of Jean Moncada now. Stephen Place has got up into P1. And I can show you where that overtake has happened. Here we go. It is down the run through the S's. Just gets an incredible run. Maybe some team orders there from the two Redline boys. Stephen Place saying, hey, mate, I know we're teammates. I am quicker here, so it might have been our best interest for the team championship points, especially because we are already 108 points behind, to pick up as many points as we can and make sure that at least one of us finishes in P1. As you can see in the background, Diego Ciccarelli having a little bit of a look on Joan Moncada too. Can't quite make it though. Joan Moncada doing everything correctly there in order to defend from the Canadian.
Together right now, team Redline. For sure. Try to hold off this man in the event matrix team. He's got Scotty down the road there, behind him there, Joel Jacqueline, of course.
He could be a sitting duck. It could be a sitting duck. It's a second to place, sorry, but it's a second to place. Moncada is, what, 4 tenths ahead of Ciccarelli. So it could be a sitting duck next lap round, Biggle. So this might be one of the last laps that he's able to stay in front into the chicane.
The flames on the back of the vehicle, that's what Stevie was talking to me about before. And that's not Stevie's car, of course, that's Juan's car right there with the flames on the back there. Stevie's got to have some flames. Stephen Place, we get the road there, mate, and get this. You could dominate this race, I'd have to say. Because the battle is brewing definitely behind you right now, as we're definitely riding on board right with Diego's bird's eye view. Scary. You got no halo. It is above your head, but so don't you worry about too much. But if it flicks any oil and dust and stones into your helmet, you're going to feel it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The halo is a good safety device, but it took away some of the aggression that you could see sometimes when the driver was really on it. He had his head down, he had his head forward in an absolute push position. One driver who really had that was Max Verstappen, actually. He really did have that. A little bit further back, to be honest. There's exciting battles going on. It is Mateus trying to make his way forward again. Run on to the start finish. He's going to go down the inside already. I think he's going to stick behind. Yeah, he's lifting. Mateus is smart. There's a reason he's so quick. Quick drivers are not only quick, they're smart too.
There it is.
He's going to get him.
Dan,
He's going to get him.
commit on the inside here. Just hold it there. Then you're on the racing line. You've got to allow a little bit of space to the left. Is he? Yes. Because he realizes that driver could be coming back at the moment, but there it is. That's textbook 101 overtaking. Now see whether or not Joel Justin can come back in on this one. He will. Not yield, of course. He doesn't have to yield to the pole sitter, but have to tuck in through these S's for sure.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be in the fence. And good job there. So Atheist back up and climbing his way back after that very early spin. He was in last place and after lap 1. Now in lap 6 and P5. And of course, Mr. Ian's out there. Achieved Ian. Oi, oi, oi. Hello, Mr. Ian. Known Ian for some time. Helps me with my Discord and a great supporter. And Diego, unfortunately, has I think that's similar location.
He came back on track and even had another moment after that. I think what happened there was that he spun into the bus stop chicane. And then his tires were just flaming hot, and he tried to push it a bit too hard when he came back on track.
So this will be. I think it was around there, wasn't it? That's when I see a lot of that. That's repetition of the European races that we had earlier today. A lot of these drivers making some of these mistakes. Tricky track, of course. But great track.
Yeah,
tricky.
It's the speed that makes this track so tricky. You have to be on it.
Down there because one is on the back there, Stephen still. Choose that gap to interval as well too.
Oh, he's right on him. Yeah. He's right on him. Like I said, he's going to be a sitting duck next lap. And, well, here it is. The gap, 1.1 seconds to Stephen Place out of him. He's not going to get any slipstream. It's going to go to the inside. Ciccarelli, though, looks like he's running a higher wing. He's not able to get closer on the straights, really. But he's getting a lot of time in the corners.
Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? You sacrifice the scrub off a little bit of your straight line speed for your cornering speed to make it difficult for them to get a good run on you. So that's just the way that drivers. We don't know about fuel loads as well too. Do you know that they can fuel up the car to go to the end of the race? That's something guaranteed.
Oh, that's wide from Diego.
Yeah, look at that. It's easy to take different racing ones,
yeah, that's wide from Diego Ciccarelli. No, I agree with that, Biggles. You could, but you still have to make that one pit stop. So you could just put in a leader or 5-6 at that pit stop and just run a leader or 5-6 lighter than everyone else.
Well, you're in the United States, mate, so it's a gallon. If the Americans,
1 gallon.
You've got the imperial system, although you got Canada and Australia and Brazil, the rest of the countries that we work on the metric system. As exactly that CJ, CJ the pit reporter's reported that Diego is gone for another moment. He can't lose any more places at the moment. He's currently in P9, 51 seconds to change down the road from our race leader.
Oh, once again, really wide. It's Moraes in the background. Mateus Moraes with the quickest lap time in P5, 3.8 seconds back on this pair.
Straight line speed, isn't it? You're sitting there, 6th gear, you're checking your emails there, you're checking your Twitter feeds and your Instagram, and then you of course get ready for your braking zone. And whether they're in VR2 down, we've spoken about before, when that sun starts smacking into your helmet at certain places. This track is not so notoriously bad for the turning because you've got a couple of high-speed corners, but you're not under heavy braking zones and being blinded by spotting that braking markers. But they will tear off their visors. I saw that a little bit earlier as we get it more into probably less into the evening than we had for the European race because that was 30 minutes more than this one. But they started tearing off their visors, not clear visors by the end of the race when they had the tinted visors at the start.
Well, there we go. I don't know. I don't know how you're able to do that if the tear off is a kind of sunglass visor
how
But-
bloated that is at that point. Just a little
Yeah.
bit peeking through the grandstand there. Especially when you're tucked up behind the gearbox right
He's
now
gonna
with the
run.
driver.
He's got to run on Moncada. Down in the turn one, he's going to stay behind. He's going to have a look to the inside. He's going to tighten up that corner now. He gets a good exit though. But then again, now it seems to be stationary. He doesn't seem to be gaining anything compared to Moncada, which is telling me that Zuccarelli is running higher wing here, Biggles. Because look at this, he's not gaining, he's in the slipstream. He's losing time in the slipstream.
Yeah. That's car setup for sure. And the way you want to tweak it. But it's all about forcing drivers into mistake. And there's another thing here, going through this section. These cars are relatively light, Dan. You will see, and I did see earlier in the European, hopefully not so much tonight, do it 9 drivers, but those cars lift off there, all 4 wheels. You're airborne at that point, and you're just, as soon as the car lands somewhere, you're just hoping it's landing in a direction where it's kind of on the tarmac and not into the grass, because that's what happens. It just lifts you up and bang, you're in the fence. And here, see, it's just seizing an opportunity. Waiting for a mistake to pounce on. You're going to have to do that too, because look at the background here. You've got Matthias, of course, lurking around there with Scotty and one. So look how quickly they've managed to catch up to this one. This turned into a 4-way fight now, Dan.
Well, Moncada's dropped all the way back. Zuccarelli has gone past. I don't know what happened there. Charles Cross has also had an off moment. But Juan Moncada dropped all the way down from P2 to P5. I think he had a little bit of a slide, a little bit of a snap, had to correct it, lost a lot of momentum with it, and with that, it's Morash down through. Zuccarelli is up into P2, and now we have a 3-way scrap for P2. And Jean Moncada will be looking to get to the back of this too, to try and pick up on this battle too.
Brilliant racing, and believe it or not, yeah, we've already shaved almost 20 minutes into this one. He's presently scored in the pit road, so I think Charles's crash has caused something. He'll probably go in there, use his fast repair, and of course get his pit stop over and done with, and then he can go all the way into this race no problems and try to build up as much time as he can and let it once everybody else takes their mandatory pit stops. And Solozo has just lost a place there, I think, to Jacqueline. They're going for a tooth and nail in a while. So what happened there before that too, Dan? Get a chance to look at some of those replays soon as these drivers give us an opportunity. Because there's a crash. There it is. Oh. So again, unfortunately for our pole setter, the Brazilian mastermind, he was doing so much magic, almost back at a podium. And
He
just
was
like
back on the
that,
podium.
look at the damage to the car, but I'm not quite sure if that's just cosmetically needs a car wash, but
No, that car is bent. That car is bent. I think it has some dirt from the tire power here on it too, which means that he does.
I would not like. That's the thing too with Matthias here. He does not give up. We've seen this before in the past.
No, why would you?
4 rounds into this, he could still be. He could probably be front last soon and still have a chance of winning this race. So
I expect him to go in
Scrap a lot
though
of
now.
speed here.
I expect him to go in though now, Biggles, because yeah, there we go. He pulls into the pit lane, and he's
Now,
going to
don't do
repair
it,
all that
Dan.
damage.
Don't do it, Dan. All right, good.
He didn't.
Okay. Sorry, Dan. And I did refer to this one in the European earlier. There was a crash in the pit lane entrance. I thought somebody spun going in the pit lane entrance doing a Dan, but they didn't. I had to apologize to the driver. It was because there was 2 drivers entering the pit lane, and the driver that was behind had way too much speed going into that one and crashed in the back of the other driver, and that ended up in a 2-car pile up in the pit lane entrance, but it wasn't.
Joel Jacqueline trying to make his way up into P4. He's going to try and make his way past Solorzano. However, Solorzano we've seen is not slow by any means. This battle now for P4. Jacqueline doing really well. He's up 1 from where he started. Up 7 though. Scotty Galligan. Here he is. The Australian. What a drive from Scott. 2.6 seconds back on the leader, Stephen Place, who has been mighty in
7
practice.
positions gained. And remember the last race, how much Scotty gained on
Yeah.
that. Launch control was through the roof. He's like SpaceX. Forget that. Scotty X. He just launched that thing. And remember, I think the first race, it was like, it was only one race, but
Yeah, it just went through the roof. I'm getting it mixed up with another Australian. I'm all over the place. But I think it was Scotty, wasn't it? That had a great launch. And there's contact. And that was the replay.
Oh, no. I don't know. It was a very late send from Matthias. Or Matheus. And, he had no right to be there. Let's be honest, Biggles. He tapped him on his rear left corner. And spun Diego Zuccarelli around. It was it would have been an incredible move, but no. Diego Zuccarelli in the end is getting caught up in an incident that is none of his fault. And in the end, it is him who...
I think it's a risk it for the biscuit because Matthias was obviously...
Well, why would you?
Speed.
You were in P3 at that moment. You were in P3 about what? 3 seconds behind P1?
Brazilian down.
Yeah.
Brazilians just want to go for it. You're like Senna, my friend.
Yeah, I know, but you have to keep in mind that the race is still, what, about 40 minutes long after that? So you have plenty of time.
Speaking of the Brazilian driver, I think he's had another moment. 10 seconds to change down the road after coming out of pit road, too.
Cool tires, I think.
Heated up. Yeah.
This is still on his out lap. Oh, he's going to spin it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, that's easy to do. He keeps it on the wall, though. Important.
Yeah. So he's fumed up, and I would be look out, because he's got time.
Don't fight that man in the paddock.
Oh no, man! I wouldn't be surprised. Now he's quite a bit down the road now, but he's got his head down, clear track. He's going to be taking a second lap of most of these drivers, not all of them, very soon, and then back into the play a little bit later on.
Talking about being quick, Joel Jacklin, purple in section number 1. He's given it some. However, it has lost a bit to Storazzano. Don't think.
CJ, don't tell me about it. I haven't seen the race yet in IndyCar. I want to see it. So please don't give me any spoilers alive because I was casting this European race earlier and I had to miss it.
Spoiler alert in chat.
Don't spoil it for me. I love IndyCar series as much as the Formula 1. I'll watch it back later. Just let me know right now, CJ.
Scotty Galligan is on the pace here, Biggles. Last time around, a 139.86 for Scotty Galligan and a 140.12 for our race leader. So Scott is on the pace here. Also further back in the field, Manuel Solorzano also absolutely on it, a 139.79 for him. So Scott could well be closing in on the race leader here. He might well go for the race lead all the way from the last position. And I don't think...
He might not be last anymore. It looks like Charles Krasik's gone off somewhere as well. A little bit of an adventure. It'll actually shave a little bit of time there and bring Matthias back into. Scotty is just 2 seconds to change down the road. What's happened here? So this is such that's an unusual place to have a spinner on the Hot Reels machine.
Did well to spin flick that.
Yeah. Kind of feels like there's like some, giant human being there just put the hand down there in the car and tried to turn it a little bit more into it, like you're playing with a Hot Wheels car.
I mean, did he touch the grass on the entry? Let's have another look at it.
It was kind of straight, but if you look at it,
here, have a look.
He's braked, and then you're going straight, but so I just don't understand why it would spin a roo because you're not turning anymore. At that point,
on power,
straight.
On power.
Must be.
Maybe the rear tires just lit up. Anyways, for him, that is another point of time loss for Charles Krusty, down in P8 now. However, that is where he started, so he hasn't lost the position yet. Was that the inside barrier for Scotty Galligan, who's now got up to P1? Because I think Stephen Place has made his pit stop.
Yeah, maybe he went in the pit road at the moment, get that pit stop over and done with, so that'll release Scotty into lead this race now. Also, depending on where Stevie's going to come out, because once he come out and clear out, remember it's going to be very important for Stevie to get this race win there and mop up a whole bunch of points in this championship. He's been here today. Stephen, I've seen you here earlier in the European division, so he's got that advantage. Remember, he's got an hour and a half of racing experience on these other drivers. Remember, they probably had practice, of course, today, but Stevie's had race experience and racing against, I think there's 38 or so cars in the European division, so there's a lot more fights there. See how it pans out for Stevie, because he said he's got flames coming out of that car, and I think he's pretty confident. The Canadian driver was having a chat to him a little bit earlier about the rules and regulations.
I would say it is now. Hang with me here, because I think it's way more difficult to perform well in a session where there are less drivers than it is to do well in a session where there are more drivers. Why is that, you might ask? In a session where there are not as many drivers, not as many fights are going on, and we all know, you at home and we up here in the commentary booth, we know that whenever you're fighting, Biggles, you are losing time. And if you're not fighting, you're not losing any time. It's just basically anyone with their own pace against each other. So you have a gap. The closest gap on track at the moment is this gap between Joel Jacqueline and Manuel Solorzano. That gap is about 1.6 seconds. And even that is not close enough to call it a fight, really. They're chasing each other down, but it's not really a fight. So they can be consistent. They can turn their quick lap times time after time. So in some ways, it's way more difficult to perform well or to get a good result in a race where there are less competitors than in a race where there are about 30 plus competitors.
Yeah, you know, as a race driver, I agree with that one. There's always been action. I mean, we've seen this before in the previous rounds here. That even with left drivers on the grid, it's always been excitement, especially after those pit stops. CJ out there, I don't know how he knows everything that's going on. I guess maybe CJ, do you use that live time that is available, of course, if you have a web browser to pull it up there and you can. Because Stevie keeps to know everything that's going on the track all the time, and I think one of the ways you might know that one would be CJ would be to obviously pull up that live time that's available to the public, and you can see all the drivers and their times and all that jazz that's going on in Watkins Glen.
There's a lot going on at this Watkins Glen circuit at the moment, Biggles. There are about 9 radical SR8s thrashing around the track, absolutely blitzing it. And the quickest of the bunch at the moment, however, is still to pit. Scotty Galligan up 8 positions at the moment from where he started, and we expect him to drop down a second or so behind Stephen Place. Stephen Place over the last couple of laps has not been quicker than Scotty Galligan. Last time around for Stephen Place, a 39.83, which, don't get me wrong, that's a very quick lap time, but Scott Galligan, a 139.66. So it looks at the moment that Scotty Galligan is actually quicker.
Yeah, Dan, if you wouldn't mind showing the audience out there, of course, we could have a look at the last lap times and kind of get an indication of that you just mentioned, so that we can look at everybody else's times and see what they're doing. So we expect that, and what we're doing, expect currently at the moment. There it is. So yeah, you called it, didn't he? Look, that 139.40. Only Stephen Place has done the other 39 as he's come back out on pit road. What was his pit stop time? That's a quick one in and out for Stevie. So it didn't take anything. That was just a stop and go. Didn't take fuel. It was 1.6 seconds. Everybody so far on pit road have only taken 1 second, apart from the Brazilian mastermind who had to take a 34 second stop or whatever. I mean, they had a fast repair, but I think he might have taken on gas or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but he's still quick. And as you can see, he's doing 139.3 and the other one in 139 club.
He's doing purples though. It is so unfortunate for the pole sitter. It was a maiden debut, really, for Matthias Boivas. Oh, and got off to a good start.
The reason why it's not showing up green, isn't it? It's because it's not his personal best, because he has the fastest lap.
Yeah, he does. He does have the fastest lap on a 139.15. That's the fastest lap, and I just want to inform you about that by about half a second, just to show you how quick Matthias Bora is.
Somewhere. You might see Diego.
There he is. There he is. Took him back on track.
Oh, I was about to say, Diego's just a little bit up the road, remember? And so there it is. So another position gain there for Matthias, but this is probably Matthias is just, it's another spin. Diego Snyder's not having the best of days here, unfortunately, for the Argentina driver. Not like in Glen as much as the IndyCar drivers did in 2007. Out there, CJ. The last time they had.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
Now
this is
watch
like, I think he's just realized.
this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then again, he's scared. I think the two drivers that came past were
Code
Charles
Brown. We got a
Crossage.
Code Brown.
Yeah,
For the other drivers, of course.
Charles Crossage and Matthias Motamaidas.
Can
They
you
need a new pair of
go back to that
underpants.
replay, and can you change it to Matthias and then go on board? Because I want to see how much reaction time that he had. If you can go on board real quick, there we go. I want to see this. So he sees this, and then what's he going to do? He lifts a little bit, and then has to judge whether or not he's going to continue to do it.
Wow. Well,
That's
too close for
the heart in the
comfort, I
throat
think. Yeah, for sure. Too close for comfort, I think, Biggles, for Moiras, really.
Well, he's probably going, please, not again. I've already been to wars twice. I don't need a third time. They did say 3-time lucky, but yeah, I think nothing going to hold down the Brazilian driver. Like,
Well, he's third time unlucky. Third time unlucky this evening almost for him, but he's catching up, 2.7 seconds to Charles Crossage. He's catching up quickly to him. Last time around, a 139.76 for Matthias. And Charles Crossage on a 141. So that was about 2 seconds in it between those two last time round. This time round across the line, it is a 141.69 for Charles Crossage across the line for Matthias Mora.
yeah. There is, as CJ, there's no one car case of emergency car where you guys have a heart attack. There's actually some fantastic software company that actually, I think, sponsors the drone racing, the DRL. Have you ever seen Drone Racing League? It's insane, completely different, but drone racing is just, it's becoming more and more popular right now. And fast action, like you can imagine first person flying a drone around these crazy courses. They do it really well. But anyway, there's one of the companies that is heavily sponsored technology, and they have trying to use phone technologies and camera technology to read your heart rate and your blood pressure and all that sort of stuff, just by scanning you with a photo, essentially with the camera. I would like to see that incorporated, obviously, into these race drivers. So if they are streaming or whatever, if we can do pictures and stuff that we do on the broadcasting network, we can pull up their heart rates at the time and see what they're doing.
Oh, that would be incredible.
The technology becoming soon. The company's working on it, and I'm sure it'll be available to the public. So look out for that app on your phone at some point in the future. Just get in yourself and go, how am I doing? How's my blood pressure? How's my heart rate and all that jazz?
Well, while Biggles was going on about that, Charles Crossage has lost that position to Matthias Motamaidas. And he's now up into P7. The gap for him, however, now is about 28 seconds. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But Scotty Galligan, Moncada, Solorzano and Jacqueline, all four of those drivers still having to make their pit stop. And when are you going to come in? You're going to have to do it before the last 10 minutes of this race, Biggles.
Yep, otherwise you get disqualified like the three drivers did earlier for the European division that we found out about. Diego Schneider, unfortunately, has another one of those moments off track once again. I think the Argentina's really enjoying this one, but I do love the fact that the Argentinian driver is still sticking with it.
Looking into the eyes of the leader here.
What's going to happen. Oh yeah, concentration to the roof. You've got the tear-off visor there, so to the clear visor as we're getting into the evening. Now in Watkins, Glen.
Yeah, great to see. Because
kind of like, smooth out those bubbles in the visor a little bit. Might be a bit annoying, wouldn't it?
oh, for him it won't be. But he looks straight past that. Well, if you put tear-offs on a helmet, I've put tear-offs on a helmet before. Yeah, you want it so that there aren't too many bubbles in there, because if there is one big one, then you do have trouble, because as a driver,
if it's right on your left eye or whatever, where the braking markers are, and you can quite see exactly where's the 100 board. Bang! Oh, too late. I'm in the fence.
yeah. So yeah, exactly. Well,
or if it magnifies it like those, on the mirrors that you have on cars.
No,
where it
Biggles,
says,
Biggles.
No.
He's done it again.
Is he just pushing too much now to try to build that gap
Yeah,
up?
I think so. He's just trying to make up for lost time. And if there's one thing they learned me when I got into sim racing and karting, never try and make up for lost time, because it's lost. There's no point in
Rear sliding
trying to
there.
make it up.
Oh, on the fence again.
Yep.
Now he's got no fast repairs as well too, so that will be take that car that's a little bit dinged up there. Go on board actually in a minute, and we'll see how that steering is. You know what happens when you bend your steering shaft, right? It just you can give us an idea there, Dan, of how much time is going to be scrubbed right now. Don't think it's crabbing, so.
No, I don't think it's crabbing either, but here you can see. There you go. Yeah, he's pointing straight. However, though, it does look like sometimes he's in a banked corner with the way the left side of his car is shaped. Look at that. It looks like he's in a complete banked corner. And you look at the inside wheel and you're like, huh? Is this car...
Yeah.
Is this car not flat? Or but no. It's just the damage on the left-hand side that he's picked up.
Oh, so that's even more banking because it is elevation changes, of course, as
Oh,
you
yeah.
on the first-person view, but it's... Yeah, you probably notice a little bit more. You can see the lifted up left-hand side there. It just doesn't like a clean car so much, doesn't it? As much as look at the rear end twitching too. So he's trying to get used to this. The pit lane is be coming up for the final sector soon, so it'll be a decision whether or not he'll be going through his mind. All right, with 25 minutes to go, do I take some repairs, and how much is it going to cost him repairs? Because I think he uses fast repair before. So now it's going to be going through your crew members, wouldn't it? Through your engineers and finding out, hey, what do I do here? What do I do?
Well, Scotty Gallagher about to come up to lap Diego Schneider for the first time in this race. Diego Schneider, I am sure, will not fight this in any way. There he goes, pulls over to the left-hand side, lets the race leader through. And with that, he lost absolutely zero time, did Scotty. So, yeah, that's nice from Schneider, really, there, to let him pass like that. However...
Yeah, look, Scotty's on the rear wing says, "Wash me." Well, that should be more applying to Morris there, my friend, because his car's a bit dirty. Your car's looking pretty shiny.
And that is Biggles up in the booth, having a smile from ear to ear, because, of course, his Australian friend is leading this race at the moment, Scotty Gallagher. A 139.8 for Stephen Place last time round. Scott Gallagher, a 140.0, so that evens out that. He'll be closing in.
You know what he's going to try to do, my friend? He's going to try to repeat Alan Jones's last Formula 1 race win at this track. An honour for the Australians, mate. But still early days. So let's take a pit stop, remember, as well as the other four drivers that are in the top four positions of this race currently at the moment from every nationality. Two for the United States of America, one for Colombia. Obviously, this man, Scotty.
Well, we're going to see when he's going to come in. He has to come in, Biggles, before the last 10 minutes. Else, he can do whatever he wants. He can finish his race 20,000 laps ahead of P2. It doesn't really matter. He will get disqualified, so he will get taken out of the result. So it doesn't matter how well you've driven. Doesn't matter how big your advantage was at the end of the race. That advantage completely gone, and you will drop to the back of the field with no classification, and it will Moncada's win.
Let's work out this math on that one. So if we go to gap instead of interval, we're going to get an idea. Now, the pit stops that we're seeing for the stop and go, that's just stop, pull up to your pit box, and then you just stop there for a millisecond, and you're off again, right? That's all you have to do without taking the fuel and tires. And that you do. Now, it's been on average that we're getting up in our telemetry is about 33 seconds, yes. So, what's the gap? So, 33 seconds would drop him currently behind Stephen Place.
That's going to be close, though.
Interesting. Stephen Place has taken his pit stop already. Remember that.
Yeah, but it's not going to be 10 seconds because he's not going to be stationary for the full 33 seconds.
The 33, is the overall pit stop time.
Yeah.
It's 1.6 in the stop box. So, that's the overall pit lane
The
time.
delta.
The moment you're in the pit lane and the moment you exit the pit lane, that's what it calculates at 33 seconds at. So that means that Stephen Place currently at the moment is in the lead of this race.
The delta that you lose compared to the drivers on a normal lap, I would say is about 28 to 27 seconds. So it's going to be right close on pit exit now if he can gain just a little bit more time, the leader. But here is Stephen Place in P5 at the moment, catching up to Jacqueline. That's going to play into the hands of Gallagher, because if those two start fighting, And it might well mean that... sorry, go ahead.
Nathan said when the Brazilian driver did go in, so he's lucky he had to his repairs. We'll see how long that is. Diego Snyder, unfortunately, has had a lovely moment. Again, we won't probably show that. We feel bad. I feel bad for the Argentinian driver. Just not agreeing with this one. CJ, that's a question out for you at that, because I know you're crunching the data, and I know you're our pit lane reporter, and giving us that, whether or not you do feel that has Scotty, in the lead of this race, covered enough of Stephen Place that you're watching at the moment there, who took that pit stop a lot earlier, remember, but on lap 13. But remember, too, Stevie didn't take any fuel or any of that sort of jazz, so they're all in the same situation with tyres and fuel. Very, very interesting. I just wonder what CJ's thoughts on that would be, whether or not Stephen Place has enough in the bag there to take Scotty. And once again, Dan, in a second, you might be able to pull up those last lap times, because that'll be interesting to see how Stephen Place, I think Stephen Place is matching the same times as Scotty, the 39s that they're doing, and that's the only drivers currently on track to doing 39s. Everybody else is in the 40s.
There we go. Zuccarelli is into the 39s too now. Right on cue. And of course, Biggles, he did that to prove you wrong, as drivers always do.
He's like, I'm in there too. We forgot about that, mate. But yeah, good race for Zuccarelli, because he needs us in the championship. I was mentioned at the top of the show by Mr. CJ as well too, that dropping down the championship. But today, because he sees the opportunity with some of the drivers not being here, and that's exactly what you're going to do. And then once again, I think Stephen Place says, because he took that early pit stop, we don't see him up. We're not talking about him up on the timesheets, but he's certainly in for a race win. And he, once again, he's taking his pit stop. Now, under about 10 minutes to go, the rest of that top four have to make their pit stop. You know the gap currently at the moment to the leader. You can see the times that they're doing in. So now that's this is when you want to wish you paid attention in your math class. Oh, that's Matthew's gone back in again, my friend. He just came in and out, didn't he?
Yeah.
And back in again.
Might he have? That might be for the incident limit that he's reached, and he had to do a drive-through, because I don't think he actually had a pit stop time last time round.
And just to let you know about that one, Dan, real quick there, that is actually what happened. It cost the driver the race a win.
Oh
in the
no,
European
really?
Earlier today, yes. Had to serve it essentially on almost the last lap. Leading the race, there was an incident between the top two drivers there. They had an incident because of somebody had a bit of a spin moment before that. They came together a little bit. It dropped out. It did favour the driver in P1, but unfortunately the driver in P1 had the off tracks and then had to drop back into outside the podium. So just like that, those off tracks can haunt you. Luckily for these drivers, you've got less time driving rather than an hour and a half, even an hour. But still, they'll be creeping into the back of the driver's memories, just like you mentioned. Hopefully, Matthias does come back out. He's been in the pit road there for at least 40-something seconds, taking those repairs.
Well, Scott Gallagher,
isn't it? When will the top four box?
I don't know. It is tricky to say. They have, what, about 8 minutes left now? 8.5 to decide when they're going to go in. And they need to have been in. Now, I don't know if pit exit is where they take the 10-minute mark, or pit entry, because technically, if you enter pit lane, oh, Scotty Gallagher, look at that lap time. A 39.3.
Yeah, he's responding. He knows that. Here we go. So, Manuel goes in to the Colombian driver. As CJ says that there, I think it depends on how late Callaghan hits. If he hits earlier, might have more catch up on place. If he hits later, he'll have left time. So you are agreeing, and I'd say to CJ that Stephen Place will take that place from Scotty. When Scotty does box,
It's gonna be close, though. It is going to be close. I don't know if he has it as comfortable as you think, Biggles. Yes, he will have it.
Stephen Place is responding a fastest lap for him, a personal best, but that's a 39.7. So it's half a second shaved. So Stevie's getting the call-up message from his team to say, hey, the Aussies just set a great lap on here. You've got to respond, mate. This is what you're battling at the moment. You're battling for a podium position. You're battling for a lead of the race, essentially, once these pit stops are out. So you've got to do that, don't you? Man versus machine. They're pretty much, as you said, not that close on track. Stephen Place has actually on the back there of Joel Jacklin, so you've got to check out Stevie for a second, because he is catching very rapidly the man in P3.
And remember, Stevie's taking his pit stop, so at the moment he's crucial. Stevie needs to get banker laps after banker laps in to cover off what's going to happen if the pit stops up the road. He's not worried too much about Joel because he will get the job on Joel. But how much is Joel going to slow him down potentially?
Oh, not much! Joel Jacklin!
Because Joel's just going around. There it is. Sorry, Joel.
Oh, no. Maybe going a little bit too long. I don't really think that is tire wear for Joel Jacklin. What I do think is that we will have him in at the end of this lap now. He will go into pit lane. Scotty Gallagher is the only one then continuing.
And well, McCanna's in too, so that'll give us something. You can see Stevie will get that place back, no problems right there.
Yeah, there he is, into pit lane. You could see his approach to that
now,
corner.
what about Diego Zaccarelli? You're going to be keeping on Diego. So Diego should be coming around soon. This is an opportunity for Diego to jump both of these drivers potentially and get a nice podium for the Canadian driver. Where is he on track? Here he is. He's coming around the final corner now. Both of those in pit road. Pit exit is Moncana.
No, he's not going to get him.
Jacqueline's still in.
Yeah, it's going to get him easily.
Yeah, Jacqueline. But that's because of Jacqueline's little spinneroo there. That's cost him that one. But all right, now he's going to get his head down and see if whether or not he has enough time, 15 minutes to change to try to do anything about one to get a podium position there for Diego.
I mean, Diego Zaccarelli has been quick all evening long, has about 9 seconds towards the front to Moncada. Moncada, though, just came out of pit lane, so he's going to be all fired up. So will Diego Zaccarelli be. He was up in the podium early on, remember, but then he had that coming together with Matheus Mota Moiras. So
he's curious. There you go. So Scotty's in. So this is give us a question at the moment. Can he clear? Stephen's got this one in the bag, but can he clear one in P3?
Yeah.
I'm just curious about that one.
For
sure.
That's, for sure,
think?
Biggles. Yeah.
One's in coming around. Yeah. Okay. So there we are. One is in the final, almost in the final sector. That's one in P3 we're talking about. Just stop and go real quick there, as long as Scotty spots his marker perfectly, so he just stops there and then gets on.
It's going to be close, like I said. It's not going to be as easy.
Straight away now.
He's got him. However, the speed now up the hill, that's going to be important. Gallagher has done everything he needed. And he's up into P1 after the pit stop phase. 2 seconds ahead of Gallagher. I told you, Biggles. I told you that Gallagher was up there. He's been so quick compared to Place, and then, you know, you could just see it on the lap times. He was just a tenth or two, maybe 3 tenths quicker, lap after lap after lap. It was not often that Place was a tenth or two quicker than Gallagher. And
well, now he's got to get on with it, Dan, because now he's got time, 30 minutes to go. He's under 2 seconds. And just a question out there, everybody's now boxed. Everybody has boxed. So Zaccarelli did box in P4 currently at the moment. But this battle is going to be brewing up, isn't it? Stephen Place knows he wants to get this race win. Scotty's like, I've got 8 positions gained, my friend. 666 machine. And I'm an Aussie. And I got the support from, actually, I have to support both the drivers. I'm not going to favour anybody, and this is going to be fantastic. I do. Whoever wins, hats off to
we
them.
want to fight. That's what we want.
Yeah, we want to fight.
Gallagher in P1, Place in P2. But what a strategy, Biggles, from Gallagher. He's pulled one out of the bag here, and if he can keep this up, he will be the first one this season to take a victory from the back of the field. Started this race in P9 without any quali laps. We were wondering, why has he done that? And, well, it doesn't really matter for anyone in the background. Schneider into the pit lane for a second time this evening.
Oh,
that is...
they're spinning.
Morris off.
Morris had a spin, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
Best of days. Luckily, they didn't get involved in that one. Actually, if anything, it probably shaved about 4 tenths of a second there. So Scotty had to probably lift off on that one to avoid it, and Stephen Place has just hit the loud pedal because it's down to 1.3. It was 2 seconds just before that moment there, Dan, and just like that, you're half a second.
Well, Stephen Place, an incredible drive from the Canadian, but he's just been pipped by the Australian ahead of him, Gallagher. However, still 12 minutes to go here in this race, so how... it is looking good for Gallagher now, but he has to keep in mind, it doesn't matter where he is now, it matters where he is once that checkered flag drops, Biggles.
Once Barney waves it, exactly. Barney be waving that one for anticipation. It's going to be close. It's going to be up to just concentration, the key, you can see. The good thing about it is that Stevie can see his prey up the road. Scotty's going to be knowing that his prey is in the mirrors, and off-tracks are going to be in the haunted in these drivers. We don't know specifically about all those off-track excursions and all that. If they get a slowdown, as I've said before there in the previous European division race, you'd be surprised a last little off-track excursion could cost you potentially a race win, any of these drivers, because of that. So we don't know. But look at the time differences there. It's a 5 and it's a 2. So Stephen's taken a 3/10, but I'll tell you what, Dan, that's not going to be enough. You're going to have to take about half a second and pray if Stephen plays that Scotty makes a mistake. That's all ifs, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all ifs, it's all ifs. Ifs, buts, and maybes. That always makes me think of that incredible meme. I don't do if, buts, and maybes. I do absolutes. I don't know if you know that interview. Incredible meme. Yeah, love it. But yeah, you know, it's.
You won't get reported for spam at the CJ. Morehouse is off again, or more so than anything, you probably have to say Diego Schneider's off again, because unfortunately Diego's been off quite a bit as well. Probably more so. Those two drivers, of course, the Argentinians and Brazilians. Well, they're fantastic at football, that's for sure, and they're actually fantastic at motor. Not so much when it comes to Watkins.
Here's that
Glen.
spin at turn 1. He's just going to go in too quickly. Yep. On exit. Boom. And then now...
Remember, yeah, I shouldn't have said that because he had the speed. Remember,
now the leader is coming through. Now the leader is coming through.
Yeah, that was the heartthroat moment before, remember? I think that's what cost a little bit of time there from Scotty.
You could just see
Hang
how...
on. It's Stephen Place is in the lead.
Is he?
What's going on? Yes, we got to go back and look at that one. There was a pass, and I'm not quite sure where, but Dan, you can go back and have a look at that. That's happened. So what's happened to Scotty? It must have gone off somewhere. Here it is. It's a slowdown. Has he got?
Yeah, it must have been. Must have been a slowdown. And I expect that slowdown was coming out of the chicane. There's nothing of an incident to report of from Scotty Gallagher.
Explain that to everybody, like including myself sometimes, and I'm confused in these rules. Like, what you get a slowdown or off track and stuff. Can you explain that to the new perhaps to iRacing?
Well, iRacing has a system in place that automatically gives you a certain amount of seconds of slowdown that you have to do if you cut a corner. And depending on how bad you cut the corner, that slowdown is going to be harsher and harsher. And if you do it multiple times, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Now, he cut the corner, I think, at the chicane a little bit too much, which in result, it gave him 2 seconds of a slowdown, which means that you don't have to lift off for 2 seconds. No, you actually have to lose 2 seconds, and maybe even more than that. So you actually have to lose 2 seconds to your quickest lap time, which means
yeah, go ahead.
that Scotty Gallagher had to lift off the throttle and had to let plays by. You have to serve that slowdown within 30 seconds of getting it. So that's why he, probably lifted on that straight. He knew, I need to do it now, and if I don't do it now, I'm going to get a 30-second stop and go, and then my race is completely over and I don't have any chances anymore. So he let Stephen Place by in order for him to, do that slowdown and not have to worry about a penalty afterwards.
Well, we have a race on our hands. We absolutely have a race on our hands right now because of that fact. So I think Scotty's going to be a little bit upset about that one, having a potential once again. More than anything, the pressure would be on the Australian is the fact that he can win a first to last race, last to first. That's more of one of those tick boxes you want to have in your racing league career, isn't it? And of course, if he gets a P2, it's still a great result. But you know that there's the race win right there. Just that extra little tick box to say I've won from last place is so much more better than just winning a regular race. And at the moment, Stephen Place is going to do everything in his power to deny Scotty, because Stephen Place knows, hey, this is my championship hunt here at the moment. I could go top right now on the standings if I finish first. So,
well, I would say it depends on how you get P2. If you've been fighting for P2 the whole race long, you did not get up into P1, P2 was the maximum you could achieve, then yes, you would be delighted with a P2. Great example of that, of the opposite, is the fact that I was with a driver this weekend. He was, and he's again slowing down. How's he got another slowdown?
I didn't look like he went off track.
No.
But that definitely slowed down big time. Look at that. He's so deep in the drop a second there.
Yeah, and quickly to go on with that story, but he was a Dutch journalist, so he wasn't the racing driver. He was up against full-time karting drivers in the E20, the Rotax E20s, the electric series from Rotax, the factory series. And this is his first weekend in the karts. On the Friday improving, on the Saturday improving. Going into today, there was rain at the track, but not full rain. It just about drizzled enough to make it tricky for the drivers. And that's the conditions he excelled in. Now, for race number 1, they went out on slicks, and it was completely slick conditions. For race number 2, the race before had been red flagged because it was treacherous conditions. Then the track was drying up. They got to the pre-grid, so the starting grid, and there was a board up. Wet race. It was declared a wet race. So you have to use wet tires. Everyone knows that, right? Mm-hmm. There was one driver who broke a hub of his wet tires, so he couldn't start on the wet tires. So he had to start on slicks. Now, hold up.
Yep.
The journalist started in P2, drove an incredible race, was the quickest of everyone. He was up against, remember, full-time racing drivers. And he was a journalist, driving in his first weekend in the Rotax E20. And he was in first in the final. And that would have been the result of the whole weekend. He would have finished first overall. But, because that driver was on dries, he did not get disqualified, but the other driver who broke the hub and was on dries started gaining 5 seconds a lap because the track was drying so quickly. So instead of everyone who was on wets, like you should be in a race that is declared wet, it was the driver on dries who broke a hub on the wet tires that was able to pass everyone, even the senior drivers ahead of him, to take the overall victory, which was crazy. So he could have won that race, but he got P2. But you have to remember, he's a journalist. He was in his first weekend, so you should be super proud about P2. But at the same time, you know that if that driver didn't gain an unfair advantage by being allowed to be on the slicks because he broke a hub on the wets, you would have won. You would have won the whole event on your first weekend. So yes, you are disappointed at that point, but you also don't have to forget that you came from last position and it was your first weekend. So that's the same with Scotty here. He came from last position, and no matter where he's going to finish, he always has to keep in mind, I came from P9 on the grid and I'm in P2 at the finish.
But you don't know Australians, because we want to win.
Yeah.
He's down to a second too, Dan, on that time. He's saving a second here, so Stevie's got to do the best he could possibly do to Stephen Place it there. Look at this lap time.
Wow!
Look at that. Half a second. He knows the time's not on his side. He's got 2 minutes and change here. He's got to get this extra gear at the moment in this car. Give it everything he's got. Try to get it. I don't think he's definitely not going to be disappointed. We'll probably definitely chat to these drivers hopefully after this race. But he knows this is it. This is the final time to shine. Got to take this one back and also try to make sure he doesn't venture off the track too much. If you want another one of those slowdowns, that will definitely be game over. But not to mention, he's on a 2.8 I rating, 4.2 Stephen Place. So if it's anything to go by, if you go by those I ratings, and obviously Scotty's driving and outside of his class, also goes to like the Colombian, but too far back down there from Ferrini, Diego, that's doing a great job, I have to say. Solid people. This is it. This is the final time
And look at this. It's down to under a second. Close enough you'll be. It's going to be tense. It's going to be fast and furious. And this is it. Almost an hour gone, and we have just under 2 minutes to go to see who wants to win this race right now.
Now, we're just going to give a quick little shout out to Matias Moiras in the chat, the Brazilian driver who's out of the race. He's in the YouTube chat, and well, a great pole position for him, but in the end, it just wasn't to be. Back to the battle for first position. They're gonna come up to the last lap of the race now. One last shot at it for Scotty Gallagher. He's gonna have one last shot to see what he can do.
Flag. There it is. Yeah,
one last shot.
Matthesius, yeah, good job, mate. I mean, you pushed, you tried to come back. You had like everything thrown
yeah.
at the kitchen sink, and it did
even more than that.
I guarantee the Brazilian driver right there would love to be in this squabble.
Yeah,
for sure, with Stephen Place and Scotty Callaghan, but he's not. And I don't know. What do you think out there in the chat, guys? Because the last time you're going to get, is there an opportunity? Is Scotty going to steal this one away, or is Stephen Place just confident and enough to defend just for one more lap? Ooh, 3 seconds now.
Scott Gallagher is closed in to 3:10s. This is going to be enough though for the Australian. It's going to be close. He's all over the back of Place now. A little bit of a mistake understeer there for Scott Gallagher, and that might be the nail in the coffin. 4:10s, it's too much to make up on this straight, and I can't see him make a lunge into one of the last sector corners. It has been an incredible drive from Scott Gallagher, and it can still, Biggles, be very, very proud of what he has achieved here this evening. P2 from last on the grid, and it could have been P1. An incredible drive nonetheless from the Australian, but I just think that one certain Canadian driver is just going to be a little bit too quick in the end for him. He made that little mistake, allowed Stephen Place to get up ahead of him, and Stephen Place is not going to look back. He's going to take victory at Watkins Glen. Stephen Place wins ahead of Scott Gallagher. A brilliant, brilliant drive from Stephen Place. Even though he came out behind Scott Gallagher after the pit stops, he never ever gave up. And well, he took P1 in the end in that race. Across the line to Moncada to finish off the podium at P3. An incredible drive from him too. It's a team Radline, P1 and 3. Double podium for that team. And they do a very good job for the team standings. Event Matrix with Diego Ciccarelli in P4. Manuel Solorzano in P5. Joel Jacklin, who still has to come across the line, in P6. Then Charles Crossage in P7. And Diego Schneider all the way down in P8. He's had a rough day, really, Diego Schneider. Let's be honest about that.
He's going to finish, Bob.
Yes, he
Good
is.
to see that checkered flag.
He already has. Charles Crossage, the last one to come across the line in just a moment's time. Coming through the last complex of corners now. It's an incredible complex of corners, this. It's beautiful last two corners, very quick across the line for Charles Crossage to finish in P7. And that is the whole field across the line. And well, Biggles, taking a look at the results of that race really quickly. Stephen Place, like we said, 4 cents ahead of Scotty Gallagher. It came down to about half a second at the end. From Moncada ahead of Diego Ciccarelli on the last spot of the podium. Manuel Solorzano in P5, Joel Jacklin P6, Charles Crossage P7, Diego Schneider in P8, and then Matthias Moiras not able to finish this race. We saw him in YouTube chat, of course. Incredible pole position for him, but it just wasn't to be for the Brazilian, really, Biggles.
No, one of those races that you just like, you know, tear out that out of your passport page and say, it's like that. But, you know, he's fast, he's quick, and he can definitely bounce back anytime. And also a great character coming back in the chat there and just letting everybody know for a big thank you and stuff like that. Yep.
Yeah.
You have those tracks some days, you have those days.
The main thing is you bounce back as quickly as possible at this championship. It's only round 4, so you've got time.
But let's be honest
But,
here, Biggles. This is, if there's one track that is really, really difficult, it is this one, because it is such high speed, and if you make a mistake here, you're either gonna hit a wall or you're the luckiest man alive.
Oh, the wall hits you. I believe we have the top 3 podium positions waiting for us in the interviews too, there, Dan. So, who would you like to bring in first? We got one, of course, for the team Redline. Maybe we'll go through that order there from.
We'll go from
third
P3 to P2
Yep.
to P1. So first we have Juan Moncada into the booth. Juan, welcome.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Yeah, it's been great up here in the booth. The great spectacle that you guys put down. Tell us, P3 for you. In the end, you were 25 seconds off of the top 2, but also 3 seconds ahead of Jago Zuccarelli in the end. Quite a loaded race, I think, for most part.
Yeah, it was actually a slight mistake I made. I think it was on the second lap where I hit the bus chicane. I hit the barrier, just very slight contact, and it took top end speed off of the car, and that's when I just started dropping and lost first place. But I didn't want to pit that early, so I just kept the car going as best as I could until I was able to pit, get it repaired, and then it got a little bit better. But yeah, it was a pretty lonely race.
And in terms of the team championship, of course, Stephen finishing first, you finishing at P3. You were 108 points behind the team in first. Now, was there some team orders in the beginning? Because I think at some point Stephen passed you coming out of the S's, and it looked like he pulled away from that point onwards.
Yes. As soon as I had some damage, we were on the radio, and I could tell he was clearly faster than I was. So it just made no sense for me to hold him up.
Right. Biggles, you any questions?
It was a great, solid drive. I mean, you started in P3, you finished in P3. You did a bit of teamwork play there for Team Redline to help get Stevie up and to get that race win. So solid performance for the Glen, my friend. Any shout-outs you'd like to say to anybody?
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I mean, shout out obviously to the team, Ratline. Steve has been a huge help when we practice together. Hutch, all the guys. So just shout out to them, and obviously the wife for making this time happen and taking care of the baby while I race here for tonight. So shout out to them.
Are you able to sleep well with the baby?
Yeah.
That's what makes it tough for me to do these races, because I don't know what the night what the night would be like. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you have baby duties? Because but your wife's taking care of the baby when you're racing, and then it's just like, okay, now it's my time to have my my free time, and then
That's
now
some
you're gonna
dedication
take
there.
care of the baby.
yeah, you know how it works. Yeah, exactly. So I'll be the one bottle feeding tonight and making sure she's asleep while my wife gets some rest.
Yeah. What a true champion you are then, obviously, as a proud father and a proud racing driver for Team Redline. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. First podium, so very happy about that, and thanks again.
Oh, Juan Moncada finishing P3 here this evening. Let's continue with, well, the man from down under, Biggles. Because of it, I'm going to let you do this interview, because you two will have, some great chemistry being from down under, upside down.
Oh, mate.
Oh, the Aussies.
Aussie.
Yeah, bloody Poms. No.
No, you got to say oi, 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 mate. Come on, you know the one.
Oi.
Yeah. All right, how
How
proud
are you
are you
guys?
feeling, mate? More about you, mate. Yeah, we're doing great, but how about you?
I'm actually chilled. I'm sitting here in my aircon, and everything's just. Oh, that was a cruisy little race. That was fun. Oh, God, there was some carnage though.
Cruisy for you, my friend. You got 7 positions now. How close was that for a race win? You and Stevie there coming at the end there, and you got to slow down, we believe, right? That was the reason why you had to give that position back.
No. I did a bit of a 4-wheel drift. I was going to let Steve by anyway, because I'm not really racing for points, and I know he is with Lucas, so I didn't want to take the win off him anyway. But I just dropped back from him and put a bit of pressure on him, taking time out of him every lap and see if he'd crack. But that was about as far as I was going to go with him.
There we go.
Dan, I've got questions for Steph. Scotty, what was the reason why you didn't qualify? Or you're at the back of the field?
I'm just starting at the back for fun. So I've been doing it every race. So yeah, I'm just going to do every race from the back and just racing my way through like I used to do in the officials.
Dan, sounds to me like it's a great loss to first challenge. What, mate, you got one more box to tick. Just got to win a race now. Just got to win.
Oh, no, I don't really want to win anyway. But
why not? Well, you're in the race.
As I said, I'm not really racing for the championship, so these guys are. So I'd rather just see Steve and Lucas battle away and see how they go.
See them crash and then take the victory.
Yeah. No, I mean, if I can sit behind those two battling, that's fine. But God, I'm surprised I got through. There was so much carnage. I think I almost got taken out about 3 times.
Well, Scotty, one last question to you, and then I'll pass it over to Dan because there was CJ out there in the chat when you watch it back there. You almost made an Australian proud. Let me throw a little bit of trivia at you. In the last Watkins Glen Formula One race, it was won by an Australian in 1980. Do you know which Australian driver that was?
Oh, I don't really care.
There we go.
Anyway, mate. Alan Jones.
You can tell I'm a die-hard racer, can't you?
That's right.
No, I only race for fun. So no, I don't know what was the what's his name? I can't think of it now. Alan guy. Wasn't
Alan
it?
Jones, mate. The Australian Formula One
that's
world
it.
champion. Exactly. All right.
Yeah, that would have been him.
You're Patriot. Anyway, Dan, over to you. Any questions there for Scotty? We'll let him go. He's hyped.
Well,
he's going to go to Bunnings and get a snag soon.
Exactly.
I like the way you keep thinking I'd get a jump start every week.
Well, mate, I don't know how you do it every time. Do you have some kind of grip hack or launch control hack? Because you're blitzing off the line.
These got dual clutch, so it's pretty easy. It's just it looks a lot better because the guys in front obviously don't use the dual clutch, whereas the guys at the front do. So the guys just in front of me at the back of the grid, they're obviously, I don't know what method they're using, but it doesn't seem like they're using the dual clutch.
All right, there we go. Now we know why his starts are always so quick. I think we just saw in the replay that we are showing, the slow replay, we just saw you touch the wall. So that incident happened, and then did you take any damage from that, or was that just some net code on our end?
I didn't notice anything from my end, so I think I got a 0x once. That was up at the bus stop, was it?
Yeah, it could be. The inside wall.
Yeah, I got a 0x there, but I didn't notice any damage, and it didn't feel like it had any damage, but I wasn't really pushing either, so I was just looking after the tyres, and I was wondering where Steve, I didn't know whether Steve fueled up at the beginning like I did and carried enough fuel for the whole race, so I was just more interested where I'd pop out in relation to him.
There we go. Scotty Galligan, of course, coming all the way from the back of the field up into Pete. So congratulations on the podium and a great and incredible drive, my man.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the broadcast every week too. You're great. 9 times out of 10 anyway.
There we go. So what's his spirit?
You'll never have me back. We're going to bring Stevie in, of course. So, yeah, we'll let you have a little bit of a lay down, grab a couple of sausage rolls and meat pies.
Siggy break.
Yep, so Siggy
break.
Right, guys,
have fun.
Exactly. Yeah, good on you, Scotty.
Scott, of course, finishing second this race. But let's move on to, well, the man who it's all about here this evening. He did well to stay ahead of Scotty Gallagher. Stephen Place, welcome into the booth.
Thank you.
Stephen, just an incredible race from your end. Strategy didn't quite play out, I think, how you wanted it. But in the end, you got through.
Yeah, I got first. Scott was pushing the whole race. It was based on what Scott was going to do. I tried to get past Juan. I was kind of cool with being behind it, but Diego was attacking me. and I had to go because I knew Scott was coming. So that was my focus was Scott and his lap times.
Now, I think your gap in the championship to P1 was, I think, about 8 points coming into this weekend. I think that has closed down. You're now the leader of the championship. How do you feel about that?
I wish Lucas was here. It would mean more. But I'm sure I'm gonna have to miss a race. So the drop week, it'll end up being pretty close.
Yeah. Well, we saw that you went to pit early. In the end, it turned out not to be the best strategy, maybe. What was the reason behind pitting that early from the lead?
I think actually it was a good strategy. I started noticing I was starting to really push on the tires to try to keep Scott at bay, and I was starting to lose a few of the corners. So I decided I was going to pit. It would cool the tires off, and not let Scott be the rabbit chasing me. So that was the plan.
Okay. Yeah, well, something that we here up in the booth don't really get to know these decisions, especially in a race like this. How different was it, strategy-wise, compared to a 90-minute race?
Yeah, I took an unorthodox attempt at the European one. I was in the pack, and I knew we were all going to be stacking up, so I pitted on my first lap just to ride with clean air and get in my own rhythm. And actually, I think it was a great strategy. I just made a few mistakes through the bus stop. I'm kind of disappointed with my performance today because actually, I had the pace to do much better.
Yeah. Well, that were all my questions to you. Biggles, over to you.
Well, Stevie, this is now like what 3 hours and a half that you've been driving around the Glen today, because I know you were at the European League that I was casting earlier, which was obviously a little bit more of a field there. But I was saying at the top of the show, my friend, this was an opportunity for you to seize maximum points, being with some of the other drivers you just mentioned there before, not in this championship. And by the way, thank you very much for collaborating on some of the rules and regulations that we were not 100% sure about with the previous European mandatory pit stop races with 10 minutes to go. So, but
Yeah.
either way, mate, I think you did an absolutely fantastic job there for Team Redline, as I said, with that pit stop strategy. You're boxing on lap 13, taking it to the end. Great battle there with Scotty and Juan that you'd mentioned too. So I don't really have to say too much more than that, but go Canada. Any questions you have? Or would you like
No,
to
I
say the
just want to
shout-outs?
shout out to my teammates, Juan, and I want to thank John for a great setup. Having teammates is really important. It's been the difference in the last year of getting faster and working together. So, yeah, I want to shout out to all the boys on Team Radline.
There you have it, my friend. Great job there, Stephen.
Thank you.
Great job. 3 positions game for the 3-3-4 machine. And once again, after a grueling European race that you had earlier, back in the car. I don't think you're going to be driving Watkins Glen for a little bit, moving on to the next tracks, of course, and getting some more of that Canadian Magic Team Redline driving experience there. So, GG's, my friend.
All right. Thank you. Looking forward to Daytona.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, congratulations on your victory. And, well, looking forward to next time.
All right, guys. Thank you for the broadcast. You guys, great job.
That was Stephen, of course, our winner here this evening with an incredible drive. Of course, came out behind Scotty Gallagher after the pit stop phase, but in the end, got through to take that victory, Biggles. In the end, I think an incredible evening of racing. Give me one sentence to sum up this evening.
As in your one sentences. New York, we love you.
There we go. Biggles, always happy about New York. There we go. Well,
it's where dreams are made of, my friend.
Yeah, true.
So.
True. Very true. Very true. Great song, by the way. Well, that was it from Watkins Glen here this evening from me and from Biggles. Well, Biggles, once again, thank you for being alongside me up here in the booth. Thank you all to you for watching. Thank you to CJ in chat. And, of course, Matthias jumping into the chat a little bit later on. Achievedlin, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. He actually said oi 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 when you said Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. So there we go. Doing better than Scotty Gallagher himself, the Aussie from down under. But that's it from Watkins Glen here this evening. Round 4 of the Radical World Series Americas. Of course, round 5 next week, which we will be looking forward to. Round 5 will be at VIR, which will be a sprint race once again. 30 minutes the drivers will have out there at VIR to see where they stack up against another. And, well, we'll be looking forward to head to the Virginia International Raceway. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you there. Bye-bye.